And we keep things rolling on a very busy edition of the Sports Cubicle and Sports from the Couch here on WCPT 820 AM, heartlandsignal.com, WSBC 1240 AM, Chicago, and on YouTube at the Sports Cubicle. I'm your host, Mike Mercado. And as we've had a very media industry billion-dollar deal type of episode today, I thought we should keep that vibes going because Sportico has released the NFL valuation rankings of 2025. That is all the NFL teams and what they are valued at. At number one, with no shock, is the Dallas Cowboys. They are worth $12.8 billion. At number two is the LA Rams at $10.43 billion. You have at number three, the New York Giants worth $10.25 billion. Number four, the New England Patriots at $8.76 billion. And rounding up the top five are the San Francisco 49ers at $8.6 billion. And for more of a local idea of what an NFL team is worth, the Chicago Bears, who still play at Soldier Field, who haven't put any shovels to the dirt in Arlington Heights, don't even have concepts of their new stadium yet, are at number 11 with a value of $7.45 billion. So obviously this is just the NFL is growing. These media deals make these franchises worth so much. The property that the stadiums are at, if the ownerships themselves own that stadium, are worth so much, the real estate in that. And I think the one thing, big picture, is to see how private equity is going to play into this. Because there was a time, and it's not for us, the normies, but there was a time where if you were a multi-millionaire, a billionaire, you could own a franchise. You could go and buy an NHL team, WNBA, MLB, NBA, NFL when they became available. But now there's not a human in the world, obviously there are, but like realistically, that are going to walk up to Jerry Jones or his son and say, here's $13 billion for the Dallas Cowboys. Here's the cash. It's going to take a lot of people. It's going to take an entire team to sell a lot of these franchises. So I think for the Chicago Bears themselves, who we've always talked about being one of those smaller owners because they're a family, they don't come from Walmart, they don't come from Amazon, they don't come from oil. Like it's a mom and pop shop for billionaires. But the point being, you could see their valuation going up, and it's only going to go up more when they decide to do something with it. But who are they going to sell it to? So big picture wise, just keep an eye on that. Who can actually afford some of these NFL teams? How are you going to be impacted in the pocketbook? You're seeing how much it costs to get the ESPN app, the Fox app, what it's going to be like to get Red Zone. Is YouTube TV going to be a viable option? What about Fubo? What about your VPN? All these questions, let alone trying to get to a game, trying to afford tickets, trying to afford the food there. These are things you got to keep an eye on as the years go on. But let's circle back to the Chicago Bears, right? Locally, $7.45 billion in evaluation on what the Chicago Bears are worth. Over at Sports Mockery, there was something that kind of caught my eye, and it was by Eric Lambert. And this has been a bunch of different stories that have come out. So this is again from Eric Lambert over at Sports Mockery. Chicago Bears considering nuclear option if stadium legislation fails. Kevin Warren and George McCaskey announced last week that many had expected was coming. After extensive efforts to get a new downtown stadium off the ground, the Chicago Bears brass have shifted their focus back to Arlington Heights. They have all the resources in place to begin construction by the end of this year. There's only one hurdle left. Legislation from the state is needed to provide the necessary tax clarity for them to move forward. A veto session in October is their best chance to get that done. Part of the problem is Governor J.B. Pritzker. He has stonewalled the Bears at every turn, stating he has no interest in giving the franchise any tax breaks when it doesn't benefit the state. Longtime stadium expert Mark Annis told 670 The Score that this hardline approach could have dire consequences. Quote, Governor J.B. Pritzker is acting like there isn't a state just a few minutes away that has legislation that would try to bring the Bears to Northwest Indiana, Jonas said. He's acting like he's the only game in town and the Bears haven't approached Indiana. They've ignored what Indiana has put forth, but if this keeps going in the state of Illinois, and the state of Illinois continues to act this way, maybe they won't have a chance, but at least open a door to that option. Rumors surfaced a few months ago that lawmakers in Indiana quietly approached the Bears about a stadium deal. It would establish the organization somewhere between East Chicago and Gary, just across the state line. This would be a significant blow to Illinois overall revenue, shifting it to Indiana. And you can check out the entire article over at Sports Mockery by Eric Lambert. Chicago Bears consider a nuclear option if stadium legislation fails. So first of all, they're not going to move to Indiana. Like, if you're from this area, you can understand the proximity. Might as well be a suburb of the Chicagoland area. But if the Chicago Bears, if George McCaskey, Kevin Warren are going to cry poor, not to the state, not to Springfield, not to Chicago, not to Cook County, but to you, the consumer, after seeing this article, seeing what they're worth, seeing how much it costs to buy a jersey, to watch the product, to go to a game, to park at Soldier Field, to eat any product there, for them to expect any type of break, it's nonsense. In 2025, the Chicago Bears can move to that area. The matter of fact is they're still going to be the Chicago Bears. You're still going to root for them. Even we're seeing Raider fans from Oakland across the country still cheer for them, whether they were in Los Angeles, back to Oakland, or in Vegas. People can follow a team anywhere. You could watch the product anywhere. So the threat of the Bears moving, I don't think is actually a legit one. Because for the Bears ownership themselves, I don't think they want to move. I think they can see that that is not a smart move. I think the NFL can see the best move is to keep them in the state of Illinois. Now, the state of Illinois needs to kind of keep their eyes open on this, because you do not want to lose one of your institutes and lose the potential of a brand new stadium, brand new cathedral that, if paid for by the McCaskies, by different groups that pitch in for it, you lose the revenue of all these different concerts and taxing of Final Fours and March Madness and WrestleManias and Super Bowls, so on and so forth. You lose the IDOT money. And you can only imagine the amount of money you're going to give to the Indiana economy just by having to use the highway over there. So, to me, this is a story that I don't disagree with JB in this aspect. You don't need to give the Bears anything. Now, if you need to help out when it comes to dropping a tax number from 6 to 5, right? Help with the valuation that, all right, it's actually valued at this point and not 17 months later. I get it. That's the bureaucracy of it. But the legitimacy, the actuality of a conversation of what this actually means, the Bears need to wake up and need to understand what it means to read a room and see what their consumer is going through. And also have enough forethought of what it would mean to own your own stadium or own a big portion of it, or have other people help you pay it off. What that would mean 10, 15, 20 years from now. Not what it means at this very instant. And the longer you wait, the only people who pay for it are the citizens. This is a game where every single day, not only are you wasting money, the cost goes up. So I don't want to see the state act ignorant and bullish and say, we don't care, we don't need the Bears. Yes, you do. Just as much as the Bears need you. But what the Bears and the state don't need to do is just be giving out millions and billions of dollars for a cathedral that you won't have access to, that I won't have access to. That will be private property for an NFL team, for billionaires to make more money. This is not a story where there's winners, except for the owners, except for the NFL offices. So it's important to understand, as you know, I'm not going to blame you. I'm going to be there every Thursday, every Saturday, every Sunday, every Friday, any day there's pro football, heck, college football, I'll be there watching. But I understand that I am nothing more than a wallet, than a credit card, than a debit card, than a PayPal, Apple Pay, whatever, to this league, to the franchise that I root for my entire life. So when I see a valuation of $7.8 billion, sorry, Kevin Warren, sorry, George McCaskey, you don't need a handout from anybody. Time to get a stepping. Either use it or get off the pot. All the different analogies you want to use. because all you're doing is wasting everybody's time. And throw a little caution to the state. Don't act like you're too big to not lose the Chicago Bears. And the Chicago Bears don't think you're too big to not lose the fan base. We got a whole lot left on this edition of the Sports Cubicle and Sports from the Couch on WCPT 820 AM, Heartland Signal, WSBC 1240 AM, Chicago, on YouTube at the Sports Cubicle. I'm your host, Mike Mercado.